Welcome to the Create Unknown. I am Kevin Lieber. With me, as always, is Matthew Tabor. And with me today is our special guest, Carson. Carson, hello.
That's me. What's up?
How's it going?
I'm doing pretty good. How about you guys?
We're doing really fantastic, and it's great to be able to talk to you for the first time. We've chatted a little bit over Twitter, but not too much. But I really wanted to talk to you in person because you are so funny to me. And let me tell you something.
I appreciate that, man.
On this show, part of what we try to do, and definitely what I like to try to do, is sort of dissect YouTubers in a way where I can get my head wrapped around like what they're trying to do, where they're going with what they're doing, you know, what sort of genre maybe they fit in, what their inspirations are, okay? And with you, I'm totally at a loss. Yeah. And I mean that in the best possible way. Like, there are people who, even if they seem like really like hyper creative, like I can get myself in the mind space of saying like, all right, I know where that's coming from. But with you, I don't know where it's coming from. And it just seems like you have some sort of like direct access to some creative muse that the rest of us don't have. So can you please like inform me like what's going on in your brain?
Well, you're going to have to be more specific. What are you talking about in particular? What part of like my brand, I guess, are you talking about?
So like the top of the staircase picture. Yes. Talk about how you looked at that whole tweet.
All right. So recently Carson made a tweet where there was a photograph of him taken by somebody else, nobody knows, from the bottom of a staircase. Carson is at the top of the staircase, and the photo is kind of peering at an odd angle, like through the banister. And all the tweet says is "waiting for Santa." And meanwhile, this was not tweeted on December 20th or Christmas Eve. This was tweeted like a week ago. I don't know why, but I laughed hysterically at it because it's just so deeply awkward and random in a way that it's not like, oh, look how random I am. It's not like that, because that's not funny. This is like, I don't know what the words are for what you're doing. Yeah.
It's perfectly awkward.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we didn't know where to begin. Like, how do you begin with that?
I just think stupid stuff is really funny. I really have a dumb sense of humor. So, like, that entire thing was, I saw the staircase and I'm like, this would be funny if we got a picture of this for me up there just peering down. So we did.
And so then the Santa part, that came later. That wasn't there when you took the picture?
Yeah.
Okay.
No, the caption came later.
Or like the Pokemon chair, like the chair, the Pokemon, the chair. It's like, what are the pieces of that?
I'm coming on this podcast to talk about my best moments. The chair thing, I was doing I was making stuff for my friend's video, actually. His name is Slimesicle. I don't know if you've heard of him. And we were making new Pokemon, and I put a chair on to Photoshop and then just said chair, the chair Pokemon. There's not much to it. I just thought it was funny.
It is really funny though, because like you said, it's like perfectly awkward. It's perfectly dumb. And I don't know. I wish there were, look, we need to create this genre sort of things that are so dumb, and you're I'm being totally serious 100%. About this. Like, they're so dumb, but in a smart way. And I know that sounds contradictory and ridiculous, but you're getting really creative, really smart people trying to come up with the dumbest thing imaginable.
They're not getting there. Not to that level.
Who's not getting there?
Oh, Joe, a lot of people who are trying to have this like awkward, simple, but very funny thing.
Right.
You know, you're amazing at it, right? And those people can be good and funny, but there's actually this strange complexity and majesty in reaching peak stupidity.
Yes.
I agree 100%.
And where does that come from for you? I mean, is it like what? So we're a little older than you. So let me tell you, my comedic inspirations growing up were things like The Simpsons. They were like in later years, like Mr. Show with Bob and David. Things that, like early 90s, Ren and Stimpy, Beavis and Butthead. Okay. That's like really old at this point. So where do you get the dumb, the intelligently dumb, brilliantly dumb, like interest in comedy from?
Well, for one, my favorite comedy of all time is Monty Python and the Holy Grail. Okay. That's a fantastic film, and just that is my sense of humor in a nutshell. It's just all so stupid, but it's stupid in a well-done manner. And also, my friends all have a similar sense of humor to me, so I consider them also comedic inspirations because I can draw from whatever they say and build my own comedy around it.
And is that sort of like your friend circle just trying to make each other laugh, sort of where you are now bringing that to the internet?
Yeah, well, my friend circle is mostly people I met over the internet, and we're just all people that enjoy the dumber things in life, I guess. Like, our sense of humor ranges from absurdism to like just base level comedy, but we're all able to make each other laugh, and whenever we're talking to each other, the main goal is to make as many jokes as possible. Like last week I was at PAX East, and there was a moment I laughed the hardest I've ever laughed because my friend Ted Nivison, he had one bit that he just kept doing, and I couldn't get over it. And I was the only one laughing. I cried laughing, but it was just so funny to me. And that's not on recording or anything. I wish it was, but like it's not. And we just do it because we find it entertaining.
What was the bit? Can you tell us?
We were watching a Minecraft YouTuber, and we were in complete pain the entire time, and we were like, I didn't click off because the longer we sat there, the funnier they got in their pain about how like painful this Minecraft YouTuber's video was, because it was just vapid. There was nothing going on in it. So the commentary that my friends were giving was just making me die, and then Ted started doing this like impression of a 6-year-old who's watching the video, and he did this thing where it's just every like 5 seconds he had a new line that just killed me. I don't even remember any of the lines. I wish I did. I can't describe it. It sounds dumb to describe it, but it was incredible.
But basically,
I reached pure bliss.
You found a really boring Minecraft video. Is that what you would say? Like a poorly done, just boring Minecraft Let's Play, and then you role played as like a 6-year-old, a 6-year-old being entertained by it or being bored by it.
I mean, yeah, a lot of it's just improv. It's just improv based on the situation around us, and it's I don't know how to describe it besides just we're always trying to improve our comedy chops so that we can make each other laugh, I guess. And that's led to my own success, because what my channel is, like my main channel, is making each other laugh.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was gonna go into now, because it seems like such a strangely organic way to build an online presence, or a YouTube channel or whatever, where all of a sudden you have these friends who are online trying to make each other laugh, and then you're sort of recording these moments for everybody to laugh with you.
I just try. Well, the original idea was I knew my friends were super funny, and I wanted to record it, but just recording a funny group of friends normally wasn't enough, and I needed something to tailor it. So I started fine tuning like specific topics that I knew could get popular. And then building the comedy around that. And it really let my friends and our comedy really shine, I guess.
So you honed in on something that you knew that people would be interested in or click on, and then kind of develop the format of you guys being funny around that topic. Like, can you give an example of one of those things?
Well, quite recently, I did a video where we bought a game from China that's just full of off-brand video games, and then we just put it in an NES and just went with it and tried to make comedy around that.
I watched that. You had like Mario 14, and you're like, what is Mario 14? Or like Contra 8.
I still don't quite know.
Yeah.
And then there's stuff like we did DeviantArt. We've done all sorts of stuff. Probably what I'm most known for is my Invading Discord server series, where we come up with a gag and then we go into a Discord server and then we do that gag to people who don't know it's coming. Mm-hmm. And that creates a really genuine reaction from those people. And that, I think what people really enjoy about that is it's really well structured, I guess, with the comedy, and that structures our jokes to an even finer degree, because most of the time it's just improv, but that's planned comedy, I guess, that we do to people who aren't in on the plan.
Yeah. So how do you structure something like that? Because I think that other people might watch your Discord raids and think, well, I could do that too. But you're saying that a lot more goes into like the preparation of what's going to be funny about it.
Oh yeah. No, we make sure that whatever we're doing, the people won't be super like pissed off about it. We don't want to piss off people. We want people to laugh with us. And two, we want to make sure that it's got at least a semblance of being funny. If it's not funny, there's no point in doing it. If we're not getting a good reaction, there's no point in doing it.
And have you been wrong with thinking that like this one's going to work? This is a pretty good sweet spot of being enough of a bother to be funny, but not going to push it too hard. And then whatever it is, you do it, and it just falls flat. Like, have you been completely wrong about expectations on that?
It's never truly fallen flat. I can usually scrap together something out of a clip.
Okay.
Simply because my friends can improv, given the situation. So like one time we were doing a gag where we had a bunch of house fire people. Sorry, this is a lot of stuff dropping in here. Okay. So there were multiple people named Housefire with the same Housefire profile picture that joined, and then a fire truck joined to put out the house fires. Okay. But no one spoke. But it was still a funny clip because there was a certain amount of awkwardness afterwards. And then my friend who was the fire truck said, "Y'all house fires trying to speak up." And it made a good clip despite it being a complete and utter failure.
And Discord hasn't been around for that long, so this seems like a really new way to make people laugh.
Yeah, no, 100%.
Hey, are you on Discord? We're on Discord. Join our Discord, the Create Unknown Discord. Join that. Hurry up. Go there. Talk to us. We're there. We're everywhere. But mainly Discord. Join the Discord.
Did you do the stuff on Vent or anything like that in the past, or did you start with Discord?
No, I started with Discord because I think it's really hard to make the same type of content like visually appealing on something like Vent or TeamSpeak. So it's not going to be as engaging.
So you're going to have to forgive me a little bit because I don't know your friends. You know, I'm only familiar with you. So
right.
Does it work where they all have their own YouTube channels too, or does everything funnel through CallMeCarson?
They do all have their own YouTube channels and Twitch channels. Twitch more so, but it's not. It's not created the same way, I guess, to like mass appeal. There's a couple that are definitely on the grind more than the others, but some are just like along for the ride and having a good time.
Okay, so you're like the ringleader a little bit.
Yeah, sure.
Okay, in the Discord circus. And what are the plans for you to continue to do this? Because it's so funny. We've talked to people like Grande and Dolan Dark, and these are guys who, in particular, Grande left like stopped doing med school because he loved doing memes. Or Dolan Dark, I believe, got his computer science degree, but then just never really pursued it. And he's having a lot of fun, being a genius on Twitter and YouTube. But what about you? Like, where does this all play into your goals and your personal life?
I dropped out of college to pursue this, so I'm in the same boat as those creators. But I hated education, so this was my way out. So I don't want to ever go back to school. My goal is to build this up enough to where I can build a very stable career out of it. Obviously, there's not much job security with YouTube and Twitch, because channels fizzle out and die all the time. But my goal is just to increase my longevity as long as possible, because I really do enjoy this, and it's the only thing I've really found that I really resonate with because of the creative freedom. My biggest thing was when I was in college, I was a media comm student, and I had to do like a TV show. I worked for the TV station and did like sports games. But what I always hated was I had to work under someone, and I never had the creative freedom that I do for YouTube and Twitch and whatever. With this, I have just pure control over everything I make, and I can make whatever I want, which is, the beauty of YouTube, I guess.
Yeah, it totally is. And I relate to that so much, because when I went to school for communication and film specifically. And I remember having like a minor clash with my film professor over the fact that she wouldn't allow me to make the thing that I wanted to make. And this is going to sound like really selfish probably, but I thought I had this great idea, and her point was ostensibly like, that's cool that you have a great idea, but when you're making sneaker commercials someday, your idea doesn't matter. You just need to make the sneaker commercial that, the sneaker brand is paying for. And I remember being in the middle of the conversation thinking, I'm never making a sneaker commercial. Like, yeah. I would rather not do anything than do, the same thing that you butted up against, which is it is a weird thing where, I would have rather, and this is what I did do. I worked in the service industry instead. So I worked in restaurants, I worked in bars, and then in my free time, that's when I made videos and creative projects. Like, that to me was a lot more liberating than working in a creative industry, but kind of being under the thumb of somebody else making the creative decisions. There's like this weird feeling as a creative person where I'd rather not be in a creative industry at all than be kind of like the helper on somebody else's vision. And I don't know why that is. Like why do you think about that?
I don't know. I don't think you said this might be selfish. I don't think it's selfish at all to want to be able to make what you want to make. I think that's going to be the most liberating thing as a creator, is making what you want to make. At the end of the day, I feel like that's what's most important, and it's going to be the most fulfilling for you. I don't personally, I just can't work under anyone, like, it doesn't work for me personally. And I never want to work under anyone unless it's like helping like a friend with a project. I can't be just another cog in the machine, I guess, if that makes sense.
Yeah, totally. So, what are some plans that you have for building out a business so that you can be sustainable? Because, you know, the AdSense, relying on that is such a tough thing for sustainability, because one little thing can go wrong in the algorithm, or, you know, something that's out of sight of your control, demonetization. And, you know, the next thing you know, you can't afford to, you know, buy your Totino's pizza rolls anymore.
That's right.
Right. And Lord knows we need our Totino's pizza rolls. The thing I'm working on right now mostly is diversifying as much as possible to create more revenue sources, so that I do have that longevity. So I currently have the main channel, which works great. Love how it's going. But then I also have been working on a second channel, which is a completely different workflow, where I have editors that put up my streams from Twitch, which is another source for me. And I'm just trying to build as outwardly as possible so that I have other places to go if one fizzles out. And I think that's the name of the game, is to just branch into as many things as possible, as often as possible, and make sure that no matter what, you still have a platform.
And how much are you working
for me, right? Sorry.
How much are you working
go
to
ahead.
do all this stuff? I mean, you're streaming, you're making your main channel videos. You must be working every day of the week on all this stuff.
I'm a workaholic. I'm working like at least 50 hours a week, at least. I live this pretty much. But I'm putting in a lot of time, and because I'm so afraid of going back to college. I've had many dreams about being in school. I think I have a phobia at this point. I'm genuinely serious. I've for about a month, every single night I went to sleep, I dreamed of a school, and I hated it. It was the worst month of my life.
But what would happen?
The worst month of my life was in school.
Yeah, well, you're actually there, and you were living the nightmare. But what's the nightmare? That you didn't study for a test, or you show up to class with no pants on?
No. The nightmare is being in school, because being in school means I can't work on what I want to work on. I again lose my own creative freedom, which is not. It's just the opposite of what I want.
One of the cool things. Oh, sorry. Go on.
Sorry, what'd you say?
Oh, one of the cool things about what you do and the style that you do it in is that, you know, you're saying, I don't want to work under somebody else, or I don't want to be in this system that really limits me. But sometimes the actual content somebody can make is an oppressive system in a way too. And if you think about anybody involved in news, by definition, they don't get to do what they want to do, right? They are constantly subject to whatever is happening around them. Yes, there's investigative journalism, and this is 0.001%. And very, very often, even if somebody has a good idea, it's not going to get approved, whatever. They're really, they have to function within the confines of a system. You've chosen to go a way that you're not beholden to other people. And you also have the content freedom, too. You don't have to do one thing. You have total freedom, as opposed to somebody who's working on a very specific thing on their own. And that's a really cool distinction, that you've managed to put something together that gives you that flexibility and freedom on all fronts.
Yeah, I agree. You're basically William Wallace, just shouting freedom to the sky. I did an internship for a news organization, a TV news, and it was crazy. It was like if anybody works in the news, you know, that's awesome, and I hope that you love it, because you have to do that.
Yes.
Every single day, you are scrambling from zero to make the news, to like make whatever is happening, and we'll cut to this guy because this is happening over here. And it was, as somebody with my temperament, it was the most anxiety-inducing environment that I've ever been in my entire life. I was like, I can't believe you people can do this every single day. It's astounding.
Some people need that, too. They need to have the decisions about how their creativity is going to be used, or what type of content it's going to be. They need to have kind of somebody else make that decision. Some people are really well suited to a responsive thing like news, and
Right.
then they take it and run with it and do their thing.
Right.
Other people, knowing you as well as I do, I can see that being a terrible fit for you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd much rather spend like hundreds of hours making one thing than scrambling around like a chicken with my head cut off to make sure that this like med piece about this new retainer that this dentist is trying, like that's like literally what it's like. It's super weird. But
Yeah, and even when you're working on a news piece, the news pieces all still feel the same. Like nothing really changes between news pieces. You just kind of pick a topic and then you build around it. I could never work like that because I always want to be making something new and something I think more people are going to resonate with. And I don't think, especially in the times we're in now, a lot of news pieces really resonate with people because a lot of news pieces are negative. Like,
Yeah,
right.
like the news is inherently negative.
Yeah, well, it's like they say, there's never a headline that's like, 177 million drivers, like drove through this thing and like all of them went home safely. That's never a news story.
Right.
no,
No,
Yeah.
it's not. It just doesn't work that way.
all of the airplanes didn't crash.
Yeah, they landed today.
Yay.
Yeah.
Good for them.
But what do you think about, so, you mentioned kind of like the climate of the news and everything. And how does that play into the jokes that you make or don't make?
I steer away from anything that could be considered controversial. Like anything that a lot of times I'll cut jokes from my videos because it's like, yes, that's funny, but it's also, it could offend someone. So I just strip it away. Political stuff gone. I don't want anything controversial in my videos. I try to avoid it as much as possible. And I know that adding anything controversial will make the amount of people that could subscribe to me go down. So I don't want to limit myself, I guess, if that makes sense. It's somewhat limiting at the same time, but in another way, it's not. It's not limiting. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it sounds like the return on it is something that's either negative or kind of dubious of value. And why would you want to keep something when it could go really poorly, or maybe it works out and does okay? Like, that's just not a good enough incentive to roll the dice on that one. And it's not going to stand up that well over time anyway. So what's the point, right?
Yeah, but I think it's smart to be able to analyze that and reach that conclusion, because it does take a level of introspection to say and to sit back and say, like, how is this going to play to a bunch of people I don't know? And I don't know that every single person who makes content takes the time to do that, I mean, maybe their brand literally is just offend as many people as possible, and that's what they get off on. Like, that's totally possible too. But it seems like what you're more interested in and what you're trying to build is something that isn't like that. And actually, you can, this is the thing. I always think, like, there are so many ways to make people laugh that why would you have to settle for, like, the most, like, obviously offensive or outrageous or gross or divisive thing you could say when literally you can take a picture of yourself at the top of a staircase and say waiting for Santa, and like, that's really funny.
Yeah, well, the thing is, it's a trade-off, because there's a lot of people that do find, like, something that something edgier is funnier to a larger group of people. But if you can make that same group of people laugh with something else, I would rather do that, because I almost think it's a crutch. It's a comedy crutch. If you can't make jokes that aren't edgy, then you're going to be limiting yourself in the long run, because people grow out of edgy humor. Well, I think there's edgy humor that can last a long time. I think there's timeless edgy humor, but there's certain edgy humor that it's just not worth it, if that makes sense.
It only goes for so long, and then what do you do? And if you don't have anything with any real substance or some unique angle like that, once the really like low-hanging fruit, easy jokes are kind of out of the picture, you got to have something. What do you do? Well, if you don't have any material that's better than that, what you do is not comedy. You're done. Yeah.
Yeah. So when you were, kind of growing up in this YouTube culture in a way that Matt and I really didn't, I'd love to hear what some of the YouTubers that you looked up to, who they were, maybe YouTube comedians, because I feel like comedy, the scene of comedy and like comedy in media has changed drastically because of the internet. Like when Matt and I were growing up, it was like SNL, maybe like like 2 late night shows. I mean, when we were little, it was really just the NBC shows, The Tonight Show, and then The Late Show.
Yep.
And then you had movies,
Yep.
Comedic movies like whatever, Adam Sandler movies, Will Ferrell movies.
Some stand-up specials on HBO. Like once a quarter, they would put something on.
If you had access to that.
If you had HBO.
Yeah, yeah. But now, you have, like, I have access to Carson, okay? Like, that's crazy.
Right, yeah.
Like, dude, like, you are just in your home where you live, and I'm in my home where I live, and, there's no gatekeeper. There's no, like, Lorne Michaels, like, doing auditions saying like, well, you're not funny enough, so like next. It's like, no, like here's my joke, what do you think? And that freedom and that access to comedy has really kind of blown up, I think, what traditional comedy was before social media became so ubiquitous.
Right. So are you looking for a list of YouTubers like I've watched over time? Because I've watched a lot of YouTube.
Oh, yeah?
I've been watching YouTube since I was like 11. The reason I started was I was watching like Let's Plays of Pokemon video games. And then from there, I was like, YouTube is awesome. I'm going to watch more YouTube. And then I found Minecraft videos, started watching tons of Minecraft videos. And then I found like trick shot videos of Kaponk, fucking ping pong trick shots, disc golf trick shot videos. I've watched such a large variety of YouTube videos, so like I can't pinpoint any main influences, I guess.
It sounds like you're talking about your friends with the way that works. Like you guys have this circle of inspiration where everything bounces off everybody else and you pull something cool out of it. That's pretty much what you just said about YouTube. You're like, yeah, I'm going to check out all of this. It's going to be a million different things.
My homepage is just like the largest variety possible. Like the homepage on YouTube usually recommends you a lot of the same stuff that you've been watching.
Yeah.
Mine is like meme, anime video, fucking Minecraft video, donkey video, Jack's Films video. It's like it's so different across the board, and I think that's one of my strong suits, I guess, is I know a lot about the YouTube landscape because my own influence is being drawn from so many sources.
That's exactly what I was hoping you would say. Like literally, because before, when I was thinking about you and thinking about talking to you about this podcast, I was thinking Carson is kind of one of this new guard that is kind of like a product of YouTube, that kind of like is a product of the internet. Like I didn't get the internet until like senior year of high school or something like that. Like my formative years or whatever were kind of behind me by the time I was able to get the internet. And even when I got the internet, it was like, it was not the internet that we have today.
No.
I don't even remember what I did. I like made, Marilyn Manson Angel Fire websites.
Yeah.
That's all you could do.
I Googled things about I actually remember the very first thing that I ever searched, and it wasn't Google. It was, one of the old search engines like Alta Vista or something like that. But I so distinctly remember around 7th, 8th grade going to Syracuse. My brother was doing a thing there, and so he took us to the computer lab and was like, here's the internet. Do something with it.
Uh-huh.
Well, what do you do? And so the first thing I ever searched was banjos. Like, okay, I'll see what the internet has to say about banjos. And
What'd you learn?
a bunch of different pictures of banjos. People had, a page dedicated just to the old Gibson banjos. Others Appalachian things. Some people were selling banjos. It wasn't like Guitar Center, but same idea. Probably like Sam Ash or something back in that day. I was like, oh, there are a lot of different ways for people to look at banjos and do things with them. And that really stuck with me. Obviously, I remember nothing about the specifics of searching banjo in like 1994. But yeah.
Banjo search terms are going up, way up right now when you release this one. You're going to see a spike.
Yeah, from 1 to 2.
But yeah, it was a different mindset where we had to have these realizations that this thing was possible on an internet, right? And it would have been completely different if we'd always had that and then thought, well, then what's possible? What's the new thing that you can make out of this wildly complex, cool, everything is out there sort of, meta platform? Then what do you pull out? And it's really hard for us to understand what that level of thinking is like.
Well, and also what growing up with YouTube or growing up with the internet allows for. And to me, what I see coming out of, what Carson's doing, what I see coming out of someone like Quackity is doing is just a total amount of freedom. And I feel like that's what we keep coming back to in this conversation with creativity that was just so impossible before, where it's like once you grew up with the world at your fingertips in terms of YouTube and the internet and everything, you just get so many more influences from day one that like we didn't have. Like I literally remember when my uncle got the internet, I would just search for Ken Griffey Jr. because he was my favorite baseball player, just to look at pictures of Ken Griffey Jr. because otherwise, unless his game was on like ESPN or I got Sports Illustrated for kids, there was no way to like see cool pictures of Ken Griffey Jr. like catching home runs. And that was the like extent of the internet when I was a kid. And now Carson, you're able to watch these crazy trick shot videos and like hilarious skits from Smosh or epic rap battles or, like whatever it was back in the day, the Minecraft stuff. I mean, Minecraft itself is such a creative, ridiculous game where you could just make and do sort of kind of whatever from like note block music to, I don't know, you know what I mean? That, that's what I see coming from you guys, and that's what I just really like about following you and following some of these other like new crop of just really funny people who are way more, I think, like open creatively than ever before.
Yeah, no, you're definitely one of those people seeing the even just the little vignettes on your Twitter feed. There is this level of more openness in terms of being creative in different ways than people who are basically. And
there's an audience for it. Like when I was doing jokes that are not as funny as your jokes back in the day, everybody thought
I'm sure they were great. I'm sure you had fantastic jokes.
There was no audience, man. Like nobody thought it was funny. Maybe because it wasn't, but but the fact that you are getting 8,000, 9,000, 10,000, 12,000 likes on these weird and surreal jokes makes me, you don't understand how happy it genuinely makes me. Like, thank you, Carson, because I've been waiting for this sort of thing to catch on for like decades.
I'm doing it for you, man.
Thank you.
I knew. This is all for you, dude. All for my guy Vsauce too.
Exactly. So when's your merch dropping? Why don't you have merch? Why can't I?
I have merch.
You do?
I'm wearing it right now.
What is it?
It says, "Whenever a bird flies, its teeth posing."
All right. Well, I'm gonna have to pick up one of those.
Maybe you don't.
I think we need.
You won't wear it outside.
It's fine. I don't go outside.
I want
fair.
Carson overalls.
Yes.
That's the important piece of
yes.
for me. Every idiot can have
Do
a
you?
T-shirt, right? I want the
Right.
overalls.
Do you,
Santa Claus
you?
themed.
are you
No,
sure?
he would wear them. Actually,
I'd wear them.
He would wear overalls.
handy.
Yeah.
They're
Do you
handy
wear
outside.
overalls?
If I'm doing work
I'm not much of an
outside,
overall guy.
they can be useful or they can be a real pain. It depends on what type of movement you're doing. But yeah, they have their place in.
What is their
in-
place? If you're like shucking corn,
No, I don't shucks corn by hand anymore.
that's just the
way.
first thing that came to mind. That you do in overalls is shuck corn.
Yes, that's it.
Or playing a banjo.
You put them on, you shuck your corn, then you just you change into a sensible outfit because that window is shut. There's no more purpose for overalls anymore. But yeah, is that part of the diversification though? The having your stuff expressed on the merch side of things. Is
On
that
merch?
Yeah.
I have not messed with merch much yet.
Okay.
I do need to. The thing is, I don't have a good idea of what makes a good shirt and how to advertise it to my own fan base in a way that makes it appealing. And so that's something I'm working on, is figuring out like what's good for this. Because I do want to branch out into merch and fashion, because I in the last year have been getting into that stuff. But as of right now, this little small brain of mine can't comprehend it.
Is there anyone whose merch you really like? You think, oh, this person's doing it well, or, like for instance, Elvis the Alien has his alien clothing.
Really good line.
That isn't. It's like its own clothing brand. It's not like, hey, here's just a T-shirt with my name on it.
Yeah, but
there's
this catchphrase that worked out really well in a video. Let me slap it on, on a shirt. It's so much beyond that.
Like
like
this.
that.
No, I recently watched a video by Nerd City about all the merch line and stuff of YouTubers, and obviously Jack's Films is one of the best. But I'm gonna name drop Donkey again. Donkey's merch line I think is really impressive, and that's all like homemade, which is interesting. I would like to really build up something unique, and something a lot of people would like to wear, and I haven't quite figured out how to do that yet. But I'm working on it. It's going back here. It's buffering in my head.
Is it hard to take what you do and translate that to something that somebody can wear and still have kind of the impact that the original joke did, or whatever it is? Is there some like hurdle in that process? Because it sounds, when I think about doing that, it sounds like this is really hard to pull off.
Yeah. The biggest thing is, do you want to make merchandise, or do you want to make something a lot of people can wear? Because merchandise, like, I wouldn't want to wear merch. I don't like, I'm wearing this right now because it's my merch, but like if it weren't my merch, I wouldn't buy it. So like I probably would not wear this in public unless it's like to a convention, which is fine. I guess there's people that would wear it, and there's nothing wrong with that, but at the end of the day, I want to make something that anyone can wear and still is recognizable as my own. So I think there is definitely a learning curve there that I'm not quite sure on how to make something that's still my own, but also something anyone can wear. And I think there's been multiple YouTubers that have tried to branch into that. I know PewDiePie, Jacksepticeye, and Markiplier have all. it's probably because they've been around so long that they figured it out. But they've got like PewDiePie has the Suki Market stuff. That's his fashion line. And then Markiplier and Jacksepticeye have the cloak stuff. And that's actual clothing that people would wear. And I would like to make something along that line. But the thing about that is then you also don't get the same kind of sales as a YouTuber because people aren't as interested in it because it's just normal clothing. So it's a tightrope you gotta walk on. And then like
trying to figure it out. Yeah. Well, and those three guys that you just mentioned are enormous. I mean, their fan bases,
they're the titans. Yeah,
they are the biggest. They're the Mount Rushmore really of people in the game. So I do think
I would love to pick their brains, dude. They're so experienced. I want to know what's kicking around up there.
Well, I don't know. Maybe we can figure that out.
It would be awesome, though, to get some of those people to talk about the real nuts and bolts of like the merchandise, for example, because there's even though it's you know, it's not really a secret thing. The point I'm trying to make is that they can let somebody like you know, here's how you do it. This is great. It's not going to impact anybody else's sales, merch operation, whatever it is. It allows you to do something different that adds to the whole thing. You know, so it's spreading the knowledge on that kind of thing is kind of good for everybody instead of dividing up, you know, this one finite pie. It just doesn't work that way.
No. Yeah. And hoarding the information because like, oh, you figured it out. And I mean, that's what, so I saw Nerd City's video on that too. And it's excellent because that's exactly what he did.
That's exactly
what is that he did a ton of research and then made this beautiful and compelling video that was like, here's what I found. Right. It's like, oh, thank you. Like, I wish more people actually took the time to do this.
Yeah, and he talked about some of
that video was fascinating. I was shout out to that guy. His videos are fantastic.
Yeah,
he deserves way more credit.
You know, having him go through the process with, you know, like where designs come from, whatever. And he's showing here some really good ones. Here, you know, I don't want to call out, even though it's in his video, but, you know, he showed an example of here's a kind of lazy design process that's really lame. And this isn't how you should do merch. Well, that's really useful to know. You know, he's laying out like the good cases and the bad cases. And I'm watching this thinking, okay, this is a really informative perspective on something like a T-shirt. You know, let's get more of this.
Yeah, just more learning in general. I mean, I don't know if everybody is as curious about things as I am, but
dude, I want to pick everyone's brain.
Yeah,
I'm
right?
like, tell me your knowledge, dude. I want to start dialogues with so many YouTubers, and I'm just like, but I'm also an introvert, so it's really hard.
What are some other topics aside from merch that you would love to learn from the great sages?
Like how people run their channels, picking their brain and learning their own formulas for things and how they think about how they form their content, similar to what you're doing with your podcast. That's why I listen to it.
Thanks.
It's really interesting to know because there's so much more than people really realize, especially like the casual YouTube viewer. There's so much that goes into it, and I just want to know it all. I want to know what PewDiePie has to say. I want to know what Jack has to say. Jack's Films. I just want to know, like, how did they make their longevity go so long? How do they craft their content? What's their creative process? Shout out to the Create Unknown for doing that.
we should have them on.
I'm
making an ad for you guys right now. Come on.
Oh, we're totally cutting that up and just blasting it everywhere.
There are a couple little bits, though, from every episode that we've done, and every person we talk to, nobody's doing it exactly the same way, which we knew it would be like that.
Yeah.
There are a bunch of things in common, though, and it's nice to see those. But it's neat to see somebody having a perspective that's really unique, doing something that's very effective, that nobody else is quite doing it the same way. But it's still something that virtually anybody else could use if they wanted to. And so
and apply to different elements of their life. You don't have to be a YouTuber to like glean knowledge from any of these conversations. It could be whatever, business or entrepreneurial endeavor that you're getting into. And one thing that I just want to say, because I think it's amazing, is the fact that you have been able to figure out a way to make being funny with your friends actually like content that people are outside of that peer group want to watch. Because I genuinely think that most people think like, oh, my friends and I are the funniest people in the entire world. Trust me, every time we get together, it is just a laugh a minute. And are you really that funny? Or, you just have these shared experiences that like make the humor naturally arise when you get together. But with you figured out like, no, we actually are funny, not just to each other, but to total random strangers around the world.
You also got to know how to market it. I think a lot of people with their groups of friends, they won't have the knowledge of like the YouTube space and everything to be as effective with it. I guess if that makes sense. I think another one of my biggest strengths is 100% knowing this will work, this won't. I'm constantly coming up with ideas, constantly writing stuff down. I keep a notes document that just has so much on it, and a lot of that just doesn't get made because I know, it's a good idea, but at the same time, I don't think it's gonna work. So I'm extremely picky and choosy about what I put on my channel as well, and I think that's the biggest thing. Is a lot of people wouldn't know what to pick and choose.
And what's the process that you go through with that? Do you just try to put yourself in other people's shoes and or try to find a topic that other people can relate to?
Well, it depends video by video, the process of how I think about it, because it's so different every single time, because I really am making something new and different each video. I don't know. It comes down to what I would find entertaining in a video. I can't put up something and think this is just okay. Like, some people will enjoy this. I want to make every video something I personally know I would enjoy watching. So that's the biggest thing.
Honing that judgment and the real expertise in that judgment has to come, at least in large part, from what you were talking about with having such a broad variety of watching things on YouTube. How can you make good judgment calls on what idea is going to be funny to people, what's going to play well, being able to look at 20 ideas and commit to one of them that's going to be the best? How can you do that if you don't have a great sense of what other people are doing? So that has to pay off for you.
Exactly. So here's my notes page. All right.
Okay, that's extensive. That's like 150 ideas.
And now I'm going to steal all of them. So
no. I'm going to go back and pause frame by frame.
Right. It's like
I hope not. Did I just?
You just gave away all the secrets. Well,
guys,
we'll blur it in post.
Blur it. Most of these I'm not going to use, and most of them won't make sense. Like they're just jumbled messes. I have an idea for like 6 months down the road that I can't make yet, but I'd love to make.
What changes in 6 months that you would be able to make it that you can't
I'm
now?
going to move out. I'm planning to move out with a friend, and then I will have the means to do a certain idea that I can't talk about because I don't want it stolen. I can talk about it off air.
Okay.
Excellent.
Okay.
Yeah.
I find with writing down ideas, so I'll do this with Twitter. I'll have an idea that I think will be a funny tweet, and I'll save it as a draft. And I find like almost 9 times out of 10, that thing that I thought was really funny that I saved as a draft, I look at it later and I'm like, that isn't funny at all. Like, that's really dumb. So I have this draft folder like full of bad tweets that thankfully I never tweeted.
Well, here's the thing about Twitter drafts is I will just come up with like 30 at a time. And like 10 or so will be used in the next 10 days because I just do 1 tweet a day. So my Twitter drafts are also extensive list. I have so many that would probably be just fine that I just don't put up because I'm like, it's not good anymore. So I 100% understand that. Here, let me pull up my drafts so that you guys can see there might actually, you guys won't be able to. Oh no, wait. Hello? It's not working. Okay.
There's so many drafts. It froze.
The
my gosh.
Upside. Yeah. Like,
Yeah.
that's a significant list.
It's
I'm just constantly writing stuff down. That's just what I do.
And do these ideas just pop into your brain, or do you sit down and say like, okay, brain, now we're going to think of ideas? Like, how does that?
It depends.
It depends.
Sometimes I get into like a fury for like 2 hours where I just am sitting there in my chair bracing, just like, it's time to make ideas. And then they come. And sometimes they really do. I mean, I planned like 2 months worth of videos in one night, just because I said it's time to make some videos. And then the Twitter drafts, sometimes I'll just be running on empty with drafts and stuff, and I'll be laying in bed, and then I snag my phone and then just start tweeting. At PAX East, a bunch of other content creators just gave me their phone, and I just went. And it was like the same quality of tweets. So I'm just dumb. Bottom line.
It's so funny that you say that because it's so not true, and that's like the point of all of this. Like, I sat down with my mom I think it was over Christmas or something, and she doesn't have Twitter because why would she? And I was explaining to her why I love Twitter so much. And I was showing her, tweets that I've done, tweets that you've done, tweets that like Ed Atlin, and like the weird videos that he makes where he'll like overdub Velma from Scooby-Doo with like he'll be like, ow, ow, ow. Like, like these like ridiculous. Do you know Ed Atlin, Carson?
No, I'm not familiar.
All right.
I'll have to look him up.
Yeah, follow him. And I was very explicitly trying to detail to her, like, the point of this is to come up with the dumbest thing. Like, that's the entire point. It's not that the tweet is like a dumb thing that some dumb person said. It's like a carefully, like with a scalpel, like surgically crafted, monumentally idiotic thing.
Yeah.
And for whatever reason, to me and clearly to you and to all of your fans, it's the most fun thing.
It's an art that there needs to be some kind of designation that recognizes how incredible that art is. In one word that goes beyond just.
I was just thinking like Carson is like the DaVinci of Dumb.
Oh, that's not bad.
Thank you.
There you go.
Bad.
Wow.
That'll be your new bio. Your new Twitter bio.
Yeah, dude. I mean, yeah. Wow. That's my legacy, huh?
That'll be your on your
DaVinci of stupid.
What an epitaph.
Negative intelligence points.
yeah, Dumb Vinci.
I will be remembered for this.
So before we go, we love to showcase the creativity of our guests. That's what we're all about here at the Create Unknown. And we like to ask our guests a random question that does not have an answer, but you'll just have to make one up on the spot because that's what you do. So, going back to your tweet about you waiting for Santa Claus at the top of the stairs. I would love to know the exact origin of Santa Claus.
It's funny you should say that because I've been actually thinking about this a lot recently. Santa Claus is a German construct. You can tell because Claus at the end of the name. That's Claus is a very German name. It's just a German construct they designed during World War II to brainwash the children of America. That's where it comes from.
So Santa Claus is very evil.
So
it's not Santa Claus. They put an American spin on it so that we would be more willing to accept it and would not recognize it as American.
We've been duped.
So we just learned that Hitler invented Santa Claus? Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
I
don't think we're allowed to celebrate Santa Claus anymore.
I guess not. I could actually.
No, you are.
I could just.
It's been made American, similar to all the food of America.
That little like buzzing in the background was the sound of this video getting demonetized.
Yes.
What for?
We've been canceled.
Hitler Claus.
Well, there you go. Now it's demonetized.
Okay. Well, thank you, Carson, so much for joining us. It was awesome to get to meet you and to chat with you about your fantastically brilliant dumb brain. And
it's such a
it sounds so terrible
statement,
but it's so awesome. It's so perfect.
It's a great oxymoron, like jumbo
the
shrimp.
Oxymoron, that's the word.
Yeah. All right. Thanks, man.
No problem.
You are about to exit the Create Unknown. Hello and welcome to the credits. I am Kevin Credits Lieber, the host of Credits. First, I want to thank Rode Microphones because they make great stuff. If you want to sound as good as we sound in your beautiful, perfectly symmetrical golden ratio ears, then you need to go to Rode.com. That's RODE.com and get some awesome audio equipment for you and your loved ones. Thank you to Carson for joining us. Carson is super, super funny. Make sure you subscribe to Carson on YouTube. Follow Carson on Twitter. Daily golden tweets. Speaking of golden ratio, Carson's like the golden ratio, the Fibonacci sequence of Twitter. Seriously. If you want to talk to us, join our Discord. We have a Discord where we literally talk to you. All you have to do is join the Discord and then talk to us. It's that simple. It really is so easy. It's like, do you remember Easy Cheese? Maybe you still get Easy Cheese. There's like cheese in a can. And before it was like, oh man, I have to unwrap individual slices of cheese or, cut like my own slices of cheese from a block. Yeah, those days are over. Now it's in a can. Just turn it upside down and press a nozzle and just put it in your mouth. Listen. Oh, that could have been taken out of context. That's okay. Listen, we need to tell you, and by we, I mean me, that you should subscribe to us here at the Create Unknown. It really helps get those numbers up. Make multiple accounts and subscribe with... No, that would be dishonest. But subscribe yourself to the Create Unknown. Ring the notification bell if that's a thing that still even exists on YouTube. Who knows? They change stuff all the time. It's very, very fun and part of the journey. Follow us on Twitter at Create Unknown. Follow us on Facebook if you Facebook. Follow us on Instagram if you Instagram. I'm sure you Instagram. I know you. Hearting images all day on your feed. And make sure that you pay tribute to all of the names that you've seen scroll by here, because a lot of people work very hard to make this show possible for you and for only you, because you are important. Y-O-U is how you spell you. But then there's also the letter U that's just you. I mean, come on. This is... Who thought of this? All right, it's probably enough. See you, Space Cowboy. I don't know why I did this. Edit that.